In this session, we're going to discuss or describe our CountBuddy products. The first one we have here is the CountBuddy, which is about the size of a Sharpie, and it has at one end a connector that plugs into our counters, and at the other end two little indicator lights, a red and a green light. And the second product we'll discuss will be the CountBuddy II, which is brand new, which we've just bought out recently. And this is for hooking into our counters also, but it gives its results on a display, a little LCD display, so you can see counts or a graphic. We'll get into that shortly. Now for the description of the CountBuddy. The reason we developed the CountBuddy was if you look at our counters, which are full-featured classifier, speed, counts, the whole works, vehicle counters. This is the VehicleCount 2500, our first product of that type. But if you'll notice about it, the thing you'll notice the most about it, it has no indicator lights, no switches, no anything. It's just a box with the two nozzles for the hoses to come in, and a connector for downloading data from the unit when it's and zeroing the unit and things like that. So out in the field, when you install the counter in the roadway and hook the hoses to it, there's really no way to know if the counter's seeing hose hits or not. And so what we did was we developed the CountBuddy, and it's simply, as you know, as I pointed out earlier, has two little indicator lights at one end and a plug on the other. So in use, you would, after you got the counter set up, you would plug in the CountBuddy into the unit like that, and then watch the lights, and the lights will blink when any hose gets hit. It should blink the appropriate light. So when you first plug the CountBuddy in, you'll notice the lights do blink. That's an indicator that the CountBuddy is working. So if you're not sure about the CountBuddy, just plug it into a count, and you should see counts as soon as you plug it in. Okay, let's move on here. Here, to demonstrate how the CountBuddy works, I'm going to use one of our road tube simulators so I can simulate a couple hose hits from a car. And let me get this thing going. I just hit the start button, and we'll get it to start putting out hits as if cars were going over some hoses. And what we'll do is connect the A channel up to the A channel on our VehicleCount 2500. And we'll connect the B channel, the B hose, up to the B channel. You could do it either way, but this would be normal. And then once the hoses are connected, and you want to verify that the counter is seeing the hoses, you'll plug the CountBuddy in. He blinks, and then each time a channel gets hit, you see the blinks. The green is nominally the A channel, and the red is the B channel. And you'll see the light double strobing each one, because there's two hits on each axis, or each hose. Okay, and that's all there is to the CountBuddy. It's simple. You just keep it in your pocket. It has a built-in battery. There's no way to change it. It should last the life of the device, however long that should be. A couple years ago, we introduced our 4-channel version of the VehicleCount, our 4500. I don't know if you can see it in the glare there, but and it has 4 channels in. It's very similar to the 2-channel VehicleCount, except 4 channels. And the problem with the existing CountBuddy was when you could plug it in here and certainly see counts, but it would only see the A channel and the B channel, which is doesn't verify the upper 2 hoses, and in a lot of situations that's probably not a desirable situation. And so we have then developed the CountBuddy II. The CountBuddy II is here, and you'll notice it's composed of a display unit and a cable. The cable just unplugs here, and you'll notice the display will flip on when I unplug it. If you notice there, so when you this cable is just connecting to the CountBuddy on one end and to our counter on the other end. So to use the CountBuddy II, you would just plug it in. And normally you probably keep this cable on it most of the time, except when traveling or something. Any case, to use it, you would just connect the CountBuddy up to the connector on the 4500. Again, no switches, no lights, no indicators. The connector for the communications is underneath this security hasp, as we call it. Normally, to secure the 4500, you run a padlock through this opening, and that keeps anybody from getting to the connector while it's in the field. In any case, you would just simply plug the CountBuddy into the connector, and at that time you'll notice it comes up. Let's see. All right, let me just do this again so that we can see it, what it does. Get the lighting better here. Okay, here we go. That's the display, by the way, oops, of the counter. Now, when I plug it into the counter, you'll see it has a sign-on message, then it follows with the counter that is hooked to the PC4500, followed by what we call the count screen, or the main screen. The main screen is showing the A, B, C, D channels. Right now 0 counts because there's no hits occurring on the hose. Just as a demonstration here, you can also use it with our 2-channel 2500. If you plug it into a 2500, you'll see, get that, there it is, plugged in, sign on screen, it says it's connected to a 2500 and only shows the 2 channels, the A and the B. Now, when we have hits, let's see, we can demonstrate on here. I'll hook, I'm using our simulator off to the side as you saw before. I'll put the A channel on there, and there's counts coming down the A channel and the B channel. Okay, and so you can see it counting, and that's the normal screen that would come up if you did nothing else. We have some options. I'll go through those in a moment. But let's use the 4-channel just because it's what we primarily developed so we could do the 4-channel. So give me a moment here and we'll get that set up. To demonstrate the CountBuddy II, I've got it connected to the 4-channel, and here I plugged it in and we got it signing on, and we come up in our data screen. Now, the CountBuddy II has, besides the data screen, it has 3 buttons across the bottom. The 2 left buttons are for scrolling through menus or screens. And the far right button is for, it's like an enter key or something. It's for making your choice if there's an option. So, in this main screen, the 3 buttons, these 2 buttons are used to scroll through different data screens. There are 3 different data screens, and I'll just do this one. And this one goes into a trace, and it gives you a little graphical trace of the hits. As I said, in this particular simplistic pattern that I'm putting out, it's just always putting out 2 hits in each channel. The next screen, at the moment, is not implemented in the counters. Once it's in the counters, it'll show up on here automatically, and it just tells you they're not quite available yet. But this will be giving you the hit totals inside the VehicleCount counter since a study was started. So it's just useful information when you go to pick the counter up to make sure it was counting correctly. And then the next press, and it puts you right back to the counts display. So you can just cycle through all 3 rapidly. And if you push this button, it just goes the other direction, cycling through. Now, the key on the right, that key, if you just touch it, puts you in a menu. And the menu has some other little features that are available. When it first enters the menu, it has, you notice it says menu exit. Well, that's so if you got in the menu by accident, you can just push again and you're back out. So you push it to go in, you push it again, you're back out. And notice each time we come back that the counter gets zeroed. So anytime you leave this main data display screen and come back to it, it'll always start over at 0. So let's go ahead and look at the menus real quick. There's that. The menus, there are 4 options right now. The exit, there's the start study, the stop study, and an information screen. The information screen shows version 104 and the battery voltage at the moment inside the CountBuddy II unit. And if you cycle again, we're back to the exit. Going here to the start study, this hasn't been implemented yet, but when our counters are starting to do multi-study studies, probably in a firmware release in the very near future, this will drop a special timestamp in the counter to indicate the start of a study. And the next one, oops, I passed it. Stop. There. The stop study will drop a stop timestamp into the unit to indicate the end of a study. If you fail to push the stop but push another start, then it assumes there's a stop and then a start. So in any case, that takes care of the menus, and then when you're ready to go back, you just hit the back key, the enter key, and in that case it did drop a stop mark timestamp into the counter. Okay, one other thing here, I did mention these are touch switches. You don't only have to touch them. They're nothing to press, just touch. This one on the right, the enter key, one other feature here, if you press and hold it, there's a backlight will come on. And if you want to clear the backlight, and then the unit behaves like normal, and then if you want to clear the backlight, just press and hold again. That'll turn it back off. So if you got it accidentally on, turn it off. The unit draws a lot of power when the backlight's going, and these are small batteries, so you don't want to use the backlight any more than you have to. Generally, if you're working late at night or in the evening, that's when you would be using the backlight. But be sparing with it. Turn it off when you don't need it, or if you happen to have it on, let me just turn it on, and you unplug the unit, it goes to sleep and the light comes off, and when you plug it back in, it's not on. So okay, so that's all there is to the CountBuddy II. It's a simple device and very powerful, especially the sweep display.